Evening, people. Happy Friday. Not in my car this time, but when you've got kids and all the rest of it, it's difficult to get some quiet time when you can actually talk without being interrupted. So, I'm just walking to the shop, so I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to just have a quick chat with you all. Wanted to talk about insecurities in this video, something which I've dealt with more or less my whole life, if not definitely my whole adult life. Whether it be the way I look, self-esteem, how I feel, all different things. Insecurity has been a massive part of my life, and I think for a lot of people, insecurities are a reason why we suffer with mental health issues. I think it leads to depression and anxiety, among other things. So yeah, I think we can get on top of insecurities for the most part. We're always going to have them, but for the most part, then we can start to feel a bit better. So one of my biggest insecurities has always been in relationships. So it's about to get really dark now, sorry. Particularly in my marriage now. Been married for 11 years, no, 12 years this year, Jesus. And despite, no matter what she says or whatever, it's always there, the insecurities that she'll leave me, that I'm not enough, that she doesn't find me attractive, that every other man around is a better catch than me, all those kind of things. And I think she understood for so long, and tried to help, and tried to reassure me, but there's only so long you can do that, so it had to come from me. And this is one of the biggest things about I don't know what to call it. I'm going to call it, I don't know, let's call it a brain fart. In November, when I hit the lowest point of my life ever, full stop, no doubt. I wasn't necessarily suicidal, but I did have those thoughts of, are they better off without me here? Particularly my wife. The kids, they adore me. I'm not always the dad that I should be, and I know that, but they adore me, and that's what keeps me going to a certain extent. And yeah, that kind of insecurity of being left was one of the biggest things that put me in that hole in November. The fear of being on my own. Biggest thing for me was the thought of, one, obviously my wife finding somebody else, but two, the thought of another man involved in my kids' lives, which for any dad out there, I'm sure, doesn't bear thinking about. But what I did learn through that process was that I've I was 20 when I met my wife. So I was a kid. I was quite immature, a bit of a dick, as most 20-year-olds are, I guess. So, and she's a few years older than me, so and obviously women are more mature anyway. So I had a few years onto that, and light years apart in that respect. But you know, I didn't have much life experience. My wife had obviously lived a bit more than I had as an adult, and I did what I thought you're kind of supposed to do, and just made my life secondary, and just put her and the kids as just at the top of my list, which I think is normal. But what wasn't normal was how I literally made them, especially her, made her everything. Didn't have much of a social life, didn't do a lot that didn't involve her. So, and obviously we moved to Staffordshire 10 years ago without friends and family and everything, so we kind of got forced into that life initially, where work, come home, see each other, don't do a lot because you've got the kids, so we've got no babysitters or anything like that, and you get into that Groundhog Day. And when you're looking at 10 years of that, it's no wonder that things came to a head. But rather than listening to what she was saying and trying to understand, just went into this spiral. Hang on one second. Right. Sorry. Still getting used to talking in front of people. So yeah, what put me in that spiral was I just went into a total head spin. Didn't really understand what she was asking of me, and just went into this anxiety fucking hellhole, and before she could even explain what was going on, really, just totally took over. Irrational thoughts. Saying to the lads in the Bottled Up Blokes group last night on the Zoom, the teams that we did, just completely irrational. What's she doing on the phone? Who's she talking to? She met someone else. She doesn't like me anymore. She doesn't fancy all that shit, ridiculous shit. And obviously, most women will tell you men are at their most attractive when they're confident, probably a bit cocky, probably a bit of a dick. Women seem to like that. Not too much of a dick, but a little bit. And obviously I was being the complete opposite of that. Just needy and clingy and all that, and it's just not a good look. So, like I said, where she initially tried to talk to me and all of that, I just lost it in the end, and just lost all sort of thought process and everything. Just didn't even want to hear it really, just sort of had my own opinion, and I was sticking to it. And my own opinion was, she doesn't love me, she doesn't find me attractive, I don't earn enough money, I don't look good enough, blah 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 blah. And that's all my insecurities from the age of 18, when I started putting a bit of weight on, as most 18-year-olds do when they start drinking and all that. Since then, really, just kind of started having those little niggly thoughts, and you just, as a young lad, you just sort of get over it and crack on. But the older you get, the more magnified they are, and then when something like that happens, obviously it questions everything, and it threw my equilibrium off. That's the only thing I can. It's a good way of explaining it. It's on a good, like a spirit level, and my bubble was in the middle, quite happy, just plodding along, and then the labourers dropped the level, and the bubble's gone all over the place, and that's what happened to me. My bubble went all over the place. And again, down to my insecurities. If I was more secure in myself, I don't know how I might have reacted differently. I would have reacted differently. So that's my point, really, is that we all have insecurities. Obviously, some worse than others. I've done CBT, which works with obviously self-esteem issues, things like that. I'm not knocking CBT, but I didn't find it particularly helpful. Took some bits away from it, but it wasn't life-changing. I found sort of valuing myself a bit more, giving myself that time, even if it's half hour, an hour, whatever, or going to football, when before I would have been like, I can't do that because the missus won't be happy. Well, she's never said that, but I just, in my own head, just made it up. So that's it, really. Just try and be a bit more secure in myself, and then the rest will follow. Same way, being insecure has a knock-on effect in a negative way, and our wives, husbands, whatever, will understand to a certain degree, but there's only so many times they can reassure you, It's got to come from you eventually. I think for me it was just knowing that she isn't going to leave. We are alright, and that's what we've got, and we are all good. Just me in my own head making up the story that didn't exist. But I'd be interested to know if any of you guys suffer with this or have done, and what you've done to kind of help it. Drop us a comment or hit me up on the socials. I'll tag all them underneath. Thanks very much.